Women's health isn't a problem to be fixed. It's a wisdom to reclaim.
Why are we not excited that we're aging and instead we're terrified?
Kimberly Ann Johnson is an author, somatic guide, and educator in women's health.
We live in a culture that is not even remotely mother-centric. We have no habit of asking people for help unless we're in dire straits.
From birth to menopause, she helps women reclaim their bodies.
Almost all biohacking advice is based on the male body. Almost all spiritual practices are based on the male body.
Now strap in as Kimberly challenges the culture of quick fixes and invites us to explore these transitions as sacred passages.
It's like this menopause mafia that's all about just like the only good healthcare women can have is quote unquote menopausally informed, meaning hormones.
Now please join me in welcoming Kimberly Ann Johnson. Wow, Keshia, how great is the quality of your new podcast, Return to Wisdom? Oh, mate, I know. I have been recording at Byron Bay's premium content and podcast recording studio, Pod Byron. They are epic. It's new, it's fresh, it's legit, as you can see. If you want to upskill your brand, if you want to create a course online, this is the place to do it. Jump on at podbyron.com. And be sure to check the show notes for a sneaky little discount on your first session. Pod Byron, that's where it's at. You! Before we get into today's show, I firstly want to thank you for being here. It is because you tune in each week that I'm able to continue on, and I really appreciate your support. Secondly, if you enjoy the content, please head on over to the homepage of the show. Hit subscribe, like, share, and please review the channel. It would mean the world. This is a small way you can contribute to better guests and greater conversations. You're listening to Return to Wisdom with Keshia. Welcome everyone to Return to Wisdom. Today my guest is Kimberly Ann Johnson, author, mother, somatic guide, and women's health advocate whose work focuses on trauma, intimacy, motherhood, and the transitions women face from birth to menopause. Kimberly helps women reclaim their bodies, relationships, and vitality during life's most transformative seasons. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I've been meaning to reach out to you for a very, very long time. And have always held off because I wanted to make sure that my email was like really concise and beautiful. There was a little bit of a confidence issue there. But I put a question box recently up on my Instagram, and a number of people were not just asking for you, but asking for the things that you talk about. And I was like, okay, I've got to do it. And no, I was very lucky to have Tani, who helped me connect with you, which yeah, I'm very grateful to Tani. If you listen to this, shout out. So thank you, Kimberly, for coming on. I guess one of the first things I wanted to...
Yeah, let's see if I can deliver here.
Yeah, well... From all of your content I've ever consumed of yours... You've never failed to deliver. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm putting you up on that pedestal.
Let's not have this be the first thing.
Look, I can edit it if worse comes to. No. I guess the first place I really wanted to start with you, Kimberly, was with aging. Because there is a lot of messaging, and this is not new, but I guess with social media, the onset of the messaging around aging is brutal, and especially for women who are transitioning from motherhood to menopause. I know personally I have definitely started noticing my own aging, and quite rapidly in the last 2 years. So while I like to think I'm a fairly confident person, I know that perhaps what I'm consuming online is affecting the way I see myself. And I was wondering if you could speak to women and our ability to age and in acceptance, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I mean, it's interesting because in my perception, the Australians and the English do it a little better than us Americans. Uh, I did a deep dive into menopausal books, sort of against and with my own will. It was like I dug my heels in, and then I was like, fine, I'll just read all of these that have titles that make me want to puke, and then I'll like see, maybe I'm just being prejudiced. Maybe it's just the title that's not what I want, but maybe inside the information will be good. And really, the only good books that I read were written by people in the UK, Ireland, Scotland, or Australia. The American books were not good at all. So, I mean, the fact that the word aging, hopefully, I mean, if we're lucky enough to be alive, that's what we're doing. I've heard the term pro-aging recently, and someone's even said, like, you're really pro-aging. I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy to have something that it's kind of like saying you're pro-birth. It's like, well, birth's happening, so how can I be pro-birth? I mean, so I'm curious. I have no idea how old you are. I'm 51, so I'm 2 years postmenopausal. And I've noticed like a lot of women coming to me that are 35 or 39 and saying, I'm in perimenopause. And I'm like, no, you're not. It's just you're being inundated with material and you're thinking that any mood fluctuation or difference in your cycle, which is just normal at any time that you have a menstrual cycle, is now perimenopause because there's so much pathologizing of women's health. So when the framework is that every vacillation that we have in our system is a problem to solve, every change is a problem to solve, then we're just constantly looking at ourselves as things that need to be fixed and processes that might be natural, things that we need to somehow mitigate, which is understandable because there is a ton of information. I mean, I personally am bombarded by information running from facial shape change, like showing how, oh, your face was shaped like this, and now let me show you how your face shape is different because you're in menopause, and belly fat. Here's the menopausal apron, and here's how you get rid of it, and just so many things that are treating it like it's something that shouldn't be happening, and that if we're having anything that is different, then it's a symptom, and anything that's different is also a negative change inherently and something that shouldn't be happening. So I've taken a page from one of your country women, Jane Hardwick Collins, and decided, because it's also in coherence with how I've lived the rest of my life, of there must be a reason for this. There must be a reason for these changes. There must be value in it. I'm not supposed to stay the same throughout my entire life. I'm not supposed to have access to the same kind of wisdom, the same kind of memory, the same kind of knowing. And if I want to be a responsible elder and a responsible community member, perhaps it's my responsibility to live this and wonder about it. So there is an element that there's a phrase called oppositional gaze. That's a phrase from Black feminist theory. And it essentially means that what you take in, whether it's imagery or reading, that you are taking into account what the gaze is that's offering it to you. And I do think that that's a helpful thing to know. There's a lot of advantages for people to convince us that there's something wrong with how we are. So whether that's financial, and like big pharma is going to get us on hormone therapy for the rest of our lives, and we're going to be dependent on something external in order to feel like we can be okay, whether it's all of the whether it's Spanx or whatever minimizing things that you're going to have so that your body looks different, or supplements. There's still a lot of agenda behind it. And it's not that I don't take supplements or I haven't adapted my exercise or nutrition as I've aged. I have, but what is so? Why are we not excited that we're aging, and instead we're terrified? Why are we digging our heels in, clambering off the edge of a cliff, trying to stay young, trying to stay fertile, when there's a reason? I mean, if let's just say I'm lucky enough to live to 75, then a third of my life will be non-fertile years. And is that just a mistake? That's just an evolutionary blip? I don't think so.
Yeah, I actually spoke recently with a evolutionary pediatrician named Dr. Paul Turk. Sorry, Dr. Paul. And he makes a really good case for why women do have such an extended non-fertile period, which is basically to help raise children, because children
Grandmother function.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved that. I loved that spin on it, because at the moment, I guess how most of society is working is that once you hit grandmother years or grandfather years, you kind of just completely take a step back. Like your retirement now, there's it's just to enjoy. Whereas his reasoning was actually, no, you have a really important function, and those functions are like imparting wisdom, but also to be more hands, because raising children is actually a group effort, not just meant to fall on one singular person or couple. So yeah, I really liked that way of looking at it. It made me a bit more excited to reach that grandmother stage.
That's true. That's knowledge also that comes from the whales, right? Because the whales are one of the only other mammals that are menopausal, and the grandmother whales have a huge part in raising the young. So that's part of how evolutionary biologists have also come to this function that's outside of a singular system or a dyad health, that our health would actually be related to those that are around us. But the other thing that happens that's sort of the opposite of what you're talking about is that a lot of women have young children and are menopausal, or are reversing their menopause in order to get pregnant. So there's not too much of a gap between childbearing years and menopausal years, which is another kind of complicated hormonal and societal configuration. But yeah, there's definitely, I think there's individual seasoning that's happening, and I think there's collective seasoning. And I think that, we see that there are cultures in the world that value the elder, that value aging. It doesn't happen to be so much in Europe and North America, but it is, you look at East Asian culture where elders are respected. You wouldn't think of sending your elders out to live in a home. You would bring them closer to you. And, I work a lot with sexuality. So I see this a lot with sexuality too, is the idea that the ideal sexuality is peak fertility, which is, really in our 20s, peak fertility and virgin body, or actually that would be like maiden body. And so the comparison of what it means to be sexy, or what it means to have a good sex life, or what it means to have high libido, is all coming from youth. That's the marker, as if that's the quote unquote right or best. And this comes from a society that is death phobic, death illiterate, doesn't want to deal with endings and death. So it's really important that we learn how to deal with endings and death. And part of that is we have this, especially with menopause, this huge opportunity to experience a death of a kind. It's not a total death, but it's the biggest one that I've been through so far, of a complete system level overhaul, a review of what's important to me, an economization of energy that's necessary because I simply can't do all the things that I used to be doing. And the acknowledgement that at the other side of this, I'm no longer a young person. You come out of postpartum and you're a young person, but you come out of menopause and you're not a young person anymore. And that comes with responsibilities, and it comes with grief, and a realization that some choices you've made, you can never remake them. My daughter's about to go to college in 2 weeks. She's 18. And this period of time has really been like, wow, okay, like there's a lot of choices I've made that I can't remake. They're done. And now she's going out into the world with those choices, and I can have regrets and all those things, but it's out of my hands now.
There's so many things there that I want to touch on, and I definitely want to go into how currently we have so many women who are deciding to have children later in life, and therefore are either having children around the time of menopause or during perimenopause, and or going through menopause with really young children. But before we go into that, I heard recently someone tell me that 33, the age of 33 was when we actually start to transition into perimenopause. And I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Well, I mean, here we are again with these relatively arbitrary numbers on some level. But also, I mean, if 33 is when perimenopause begins, then basically you're going to transition for 20 years. So like from 33 to 53, you're perimenopausal. That doesn't make any sense. It's like puberty. How long does puberty last? I mean, for some people it lasts 3 years. For some people it lasts 5 years, right? How long does postpartum last? Could be, if you're really lucky, it could be 3 to 9 months, probably more like 2 years, maybe in my case, like 6 years. So these phases, if you don't actually go into them, then you don't really come out of them, and it takes a lot longer to come out of them. Mm-hmm. So I don't see also what's the benefit of believing that you're in, I mean, then just throw it all in and say we're always in transition, which is true. But what's the benefit of it all I mean, I have people who are 21 coming to my office and telling me that they're afraid they're infertile. I'm like, why? They're like, well, you know, I was on birth control and I just got off and I haven't gotten pregnant in 3 months. It's like, that's just the infertility industry. It's just hearing collective statistics and getting afraid and then applying that to your individual circumstance. I'm not saying nobody goes through early menopause. For sure, there's people that go through early menopause, but it is absolutely not true that 33 is an average age of entering perimenopause. But you can see what the benefit is if people believe that. What the dominant culture would say is it's great because now you can get prepared and now you can biohack yourself to kingdom come and get the right routines and the right nutrients and the right diet and the right exercise regimen, and you can do that so that you minimize symptoms or whatever. And maybe that's going to be incredibly stressful. And also maybe it's going to cheat you out of like another 10 good, amazingly fertile years. Like perimenopause is one of the best times sexually because you still have your sex hormones, some of them, and you are starting to know more about what you want, and you're not caring as much about what other people think when you express what you want. So I feel like when there's this reframe of like everyone's in perimenopause, we're all in perimenopause, 33 on, like you're in perimenopause, people are it's already this loss aversion. Everything's about everything I'm losing instead of what I'm actually living. And I don't think it's helpful to anyone.
Yeah, and like for someone like me, I'm 36. No, I'll be 37 probably when this releases. When I heard that, I was like, I mean, I don't know enough information to outright be like, no, that's not right. So I was just like, oh, maybe I am experiencing maybe I did have 2 children while I was perimenopausal and I just don't realize. And I know women my age who have started on progesterone already, like creams,
right?
And
preventative Botox, preventative progesterone,
yeah,
preventative.
I mean,
the HIIT training.
Yeah, well, and the area that I live in, you know, progesterone is, you know, told to be quite natural, and if it's transdermal, then it's really natural, and that.
And how is that? Do you know where it comes from?
I do not, but I can't imagine it's anything but synthetic.
Right. So there's just this marketing thing that's bioidentical. And if you look just one step further, it's just a regular pharmaceutical. It's just called bioidentical.
Mm.
So, I mean, everything, chemo medicine comes from a plant in the Amazon. Everything comes from somewhere. But, LSD is made in a lab. But what is underneath feeling that you need to preventatively take something without even, like, what problem are you solving? What are you solving for?
Can I try and answer that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of mother rage. And I think because women are starting families, I know. Because people are starting families later in life, and I think we're only just really on a population level realizing that, career first, family later was not such great messaging to follow. Women are starting to feel like, oh, okay, well, I did start my family later. I do have young kids, but now I'm in perimenopause, and maybe that's why I have mother rage, and maybe that's why.
Or maybe, but they don't know that they're in. How do they know they're in perimenopause?
Well, because
of
33.
this statistic?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
this is a random number.
Nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Like 33 is young. It's a young person. You're young when you're 33. Okay, let's face it. Like, sure, there's all kinds of external factors that are stressful. Female reproductive systems are super exquisitely sensitive. There's all kinds. But what I can't understand, and I don't know you, Keshia, so I don't know the people that listen to your podcast, but my guess is that most of them are people who like natural birth and physiological birth and who are interested in somatic practices. So why is this the one time that it's just fine to just medicate everything? Like, how did that happen? How in my country right now, there's a huge surge towards home, like being able to have home births, and the what's called the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, which is controversial, but essentially on the side of birth, people are trying to get midwifery care covered and things like that. But then on the other side, it's like this menopause mafia that's all about just like the only good healthcare women can have is quote unquote menopausally informed, meaning hormones, all of them. Progesterone, estrogen, estradiol, testosterone. And yet these same people are anti-hormones when it comes to gender reassignment. They're anti-hormones when it comes to birth control. And they're anti-intervention when it comes to birth, except for probably fertility treatments. But it's okay to medicate women from now age 33 until forever. Because if you ask the doctor, okay, well, if I start taking it now, like how long do I have to take it? They'll say, well, I have clients in my 70s that feel great on it. So you're going to take a hormone that's also, this drives me, you can tell, I shouldn't even be talking like this on an interview because I get so flustered and upset, but we're not machines. So we're not plug and play robots. That's not what a body is. A body isn't take out a part and put it back in like the operation game. So hormones are all functioning relative to each other. So you don't just get to put one hormone in and it only does that function and nothing else is affected. So we have for people, I don't even care about the data, but we don't even have longitudinal data of people starting hormones so early. We have lots of data on the birth control pill and what that hormone does to women and depression and all kinds of things. Not that that's been widely distributed or listened to, but we do have it. But we don't have any longitudinal data on what it means to put entire populations of women. And can you imagine you're on external hormones and then you're breastfeeding or then you're having another baby? Because of course that's going to happen. And so the babies are birthed in like non-organic hormonal configurations. And in some cases, we're even conceived in that way. And then we wonder why our kids' microbiomes are all jacked, why people have all kinds of behavioral problems. Like we're at the end of the road of being able to manipulate our systems this way. And so my question to the women, mother rage. Okay, so I wrote a book. It's called The Fourth Trimester. It came out in 2017. It came out the same year as one of my friends, Molly Caromay, wrote a book called Body Full of Stars, Female Rage and the Passage into Motherhood. That was radical at the time. The word rage was not common in the culture. People were not talking about women and rage. And it was huge. And it's a beautiful book. I highly recommend it. And it really put rage on the stage. Now we've got another book called Mom Rage. We have all kinds of stuff in the culture that's talking about emotional labor, orgasm inequality, just flat out rage. So you think, okay, well, why did my mom, for instance, not have mom rage? Well, number one, she wasn't in conflict all the time about what she was doing. There were clear roles. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until I went to high school. My dad went away to work, so he went out of the house every day from, let's say, 8:30 to 6:30. The house was her domain, and outside of the house was his domain. And she wanted to raise kids, so she was happy raising kids. There was no social media, there was television. And she wasn't in some kind of internal conflict about like not meeting her calling. Like, I should be doing something else. I have bigger purpose in life. I'm not being productive. That she wasn't thinking that, which now is what most women are thinking. I've been demoted to being a mom. This is, it's a pace that I can't handle because I'm used to a fast pace. This is painfully slow. I've got nothing to show for it. And there's so much resentment towards partners because we've also been down the line of we should have equal roles. So we should be doing the same things for the same amount of time. And there's all kinds of tally taking with that. So there's a lot of social reinforcement to have rage. There's a lot of social reinforcement to be dissatisfied. There's a lot of, when I wrote my book and I asked people the question, what do you hate about motherhood? People were like, oh, clutching their pearls, like, I don't even know I'm allowed to say that I could hate something about motherhood, you know? And now it's like, that's a pastime. And I teach a whole class, and I certify facilitators in teaching an 8-class arc of the journey into motherhood. And a lot of people say, when I get together with other moms and women, basically people are complaining and like talking about their partners, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I want Mother Circle, because I really want to have meaningful conversations about motherhood. I really want to understand this identity shift. I really want to understand my sexuality now. But I don't know how to get together with other people or find that information or make that conversation happen. But a last thing on rage, because my second book is on the nervous system, and rage is a high level incomplete fight response. So if you have felt trapped, helpless, apathetic, and maybe not just felt those ways, maybe you have been those ways, you know, it can feel like you're trapped when you're mothering young children. Like, I mean, I was a single mom. Like, there's lots of times when I was like dying to get out of my house, but I couldn't leave an 18-month-old alone in the house. When you don't have another adult that you can tap out and go for a walk around the block. Because we are largely in an uninitiated, immature culture, we think that we should have freedom all the time, and freedom is the best thing. And then you have kids, and you really, I mean, I always say, like, I put the earth boots on and was like, oh, okay, reality check. That's what brought me into an adulthood. I don't know how I would have done it without that. But it's not something you might sign up for. It's startling, and it does make you feel like I had a spiritual practice that was a couple hours a day before I had a kid. And then I had a kid, and it was like, there's no way I can do this. I can barely clean my house, take a shower, and take care of my child. Like, I'm not going to have 2 hours to sit down. And when she was sleeping, I was exhausted. I was like sleeping or doing laundry or, you know. So it's normal to feel restricted. It's normal to feel like, wow, I'm getting completely reorganized. But then to feel victimized by that and like somehow it's wrong and it shouldn't be happening, that's where we need to mature. And not to like say, you know, woman up or something, not like that. It's just like, oh, okay, so how do I lean into this? How do I, oh yeah, okay, so I have all of this, because rage is essentially a lot of charge in your system. So you could have that rage because you had a birth experience where you ended up with a hospital transfer you didn't want, or you think you had an unnecessary cesarean, or you weren't protected in your birth space, and you could be carrying whatever that incomplete birth situation is into that mothering. But to imagine that that is because of perimenopause, to me is insane, unless someone's 44 or 45. But it's like, no, it's because we live in a culture that is not even remotely mother centric. We live in a culture where we don't live in villages. We have no habit of asking people for help unless we're in dire straits. People, when they say to me like, oh, whatever the statistics are now, 40% of women have postpartum depression. I'm like, I'm surprised it's not like 90%, because anyone alone in their house all day, every day, is going to get depressed when you're caring for a new baby. That's the recipe for it. If you don't have enough to eat, you don't have anyone to have a conversation with, you don't have somebody who can hold your baby for a little while, you don't have anyone to have a deep conversation about like what's actually going on at the moment, then of course you're going to end up depressed. So when we live in the age of pathology and mental health, and that's the easy category to go to, then we don't look to the deeper level causes. And instead of also being like, yeah, because there's no village, decide, okay, well, I'm going to be a villager. This is purgatory time. Our generation, you and I are different generations, but for the people between 55 and 30, I would say, we're in purgatory land where we're not going to receive the village. We're not going to receive what we put into it, but the next generations might. So we have to live according to what we want to leave for our own children when they're in their birthing time, and more of a tight web that they might lean into.
That's something that's come up a lot on my podcast previously, where we did speak about how at the moment postpartum, it's postpartum mothers holding postpartum mothers. So,
yes,
women with 1-year-olds or 2-year-olds are the women who are cooking for the brand new mothers,
yes,
because we've lost the maidens that would usually come in. We've lost the elders that would usually come in. And so
they're not lost.
Yeah, they're still there. But
here's the thing,
this cohesiveness.
I 100% agree with you that yes, most postpartum doulas are people who had terrible postpartum experiences and are trying to repair their experience by offering service and understanding how important the role is. However, as you're pointing out, it doesn't work, because you can't leave your own small children to take care of other people's small children and have that be a sustainable thing, unfortunately. Unless you have like an insanely engaged partner who has a flexible work schedule, or you have students living in your house so that they can be, you can be out at night and they're still there. But it's a very difficult configuration, and it's also part of what's happened in the professionalization of village roles. So it's complex, because the more we do that, the less we're apt to do the thing and ask for the favor without having a monetary exchange. Because frankly, you have to be more relational to pay money. It sucks, because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm paying so much money. But then at least you have a clear agreement. But if it's not, then you're in the relational realm, which is uncomfortable. And in North America, it's a very much of a tit for tat. I did this for you, you need to do this for me. And nobody wants to owe people favors. So they're like, I probably won't ask. And as you know, a lot of people say, well, I could have this person, but they kind of annoy me. And I could have that person, but like they eat, seed oils. And, I could, my mom said she could do this, but she's a little bit narcissistic, and nobody's good enough. And so it's like another call to maturation. Like, what is it to be a full adult? Is to realize, there's no perfection. And maybe there's an organizational design that's meant for repair. The biggest step for me in my relationship with my mom was having a kid. It was like I saw my mom completely differently. Does everybody need to do it? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that there's a huge possibility for repair. I think that's part of grandparent function, right? Certain things skip a generation, and they're meant to, because grandparents don't have as big of a stake in the game as you do as a parent. And also I've noticed, because now that I'm menopausal, it's like, wow, I can be a lot more stable and a lot less emotional. Probably people are listening going, well, you're pretty freaking emotional. It's true. But I'm less emotionally attachment wise impacted by things that used to impact me. And I love talking to my mom because she just has a broader view. It doesn't seem as urgent, as immediate, as dire as from where she's at, because she's like, yeah, I went through this with you, your sister, your brother, And so it's meant that that's also what happens with these hormones. When estrogen declines, which it's supposed to, then we're less likely to take care of group harmony more than our individual axis. So we need people of every age, because if you're going to have children, then you need to very deeply care about that bonding and about the bonding of the environment. But as our estrogen declines, we just don't care as much about taking care of everyone else's needs, about making everything okay. We're willing to drop balls. And we also have a broader vision. So we need people at each stages coming together. And the reason I said they're not lost is because that lets us stay in the victim, and it lets us stay not being willing to take a risk, to ask people for things that are very human things, and that you would be surprised, many people are waiting to be asked. And I have been heartbroken and very challenged to try to figure out how all of these new moms that come to me for work, who are dying to have company, dying to have help, buried under all the things they're trying to do, and then the women who come to me who are aunts or would like to be aunts, whose family members won't entrust the children to them. It happened in my own family. My own sister's husband wouldn't let her kids be with me. Like, I'm not responsible enough. I'm too wild, whatever. I'm like such a responsible person, and I love kids, and I'm totally respectful of the way that other people parent generally. So there's no way that I would have been undermining their parenting or anything like that. But that's so common, is like everybody battens down the hatches, doesn't let anybody else in, and then talks about how lonely and isolated they are. It's like, well, if you're going to have to loosen it a little bit, loosen the weave so that other people can come in. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to do it perfectly, and they're not going to maybe do it exactly like you would want it to be done. But it is a choice point. And so, I've given this a lot of thought, Keshia, because I've now taught in person and online, like tens of thousands of women. And I hear it's getting worse, not better. So people are, I just met someone at the park the other day who was totally healthy, had a baby. She says that she had postpartum psychosis, and she was at 3 months old, her baby, she was sent to a psych ward for 40 days. And it's like, there's no mom that should be separated from her kid at 3 months old. Like, and there's no world where that's an adequate solution to the extreme isolation and also baseline level of care that people need. And it's not that, it's actually, it's very human, but people lose faith in human solutions. And so that's why I get so freaking off my whatever with the progesterone, because I'm like, why is that the solution? Like, why is that the first thing? You think that's not going to make that big of an impact anyway. And then, by the way, if you actually did need that later, it's not going to work because you've already been using it for so long, right? So it's like, what is the thing that you're trying to get to with it? I also don't understand if it's because people want to live longer. I just don't understand, because everyone seems pretty miserable anyway. I'm like, why are you trying to live longer when you're already miserable? Like, how about like try to work out? Like, what is it that's not working? What help do you need? What support do you need? What internal shift do you need to make? These are all human adult choices, and our children deserve that. So I can't, I'm so disheartened by the way that the motherhood I'm disheartened by most of the discourse that's now mainstream as a result of social media, because I don't think it's moving us towards feeling more belonging, which is what seems like most people are looking for.
I really loved that you touched on repair and how motherhood actually, like having a child, repaired your relationship with your mother, because I deeply resonate with that. And there was so much, I think, especially because I'm a mother of 5. So with each consecutive child, the more I'm like, oh, I get it. Like there were so many things that I was like, oh, my mum was so this and my mum was so that. And with every consecutive child, because she had 4 children as well and she worked full time, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. Oh, she actually did a really good job. Like by the time I got to 4 kids, I was like, my mum nailed this. It went from like, why was she so like this and this and this and this? And then like, as I kept going down, I'm like, oh my God. And now I look at her and I'm like, you're a goddess. Like, I can't believe everything you held down in that. And you and Dad maintained an incredible relationship. And you guys like, also they were very, very much the support for their parents. Like they just, yeah, very shiny. But I do see so many women my age who have really fractured relationships with their families, and it's definitely playing a part in this loneliness, in the lack of support, the lack of help, the like we don't, I think what people don't understand they're missing is like an extended kinship network, which is what we have biologically been designed to have. So that missing piece is, I think repair is like a massive part of that missing piece. And
it's so beautiful that I think it's kind of designed to be that way. It's too bad that, as you said, sort of the over culture's message of do your life, get a career, be equal to men, and then think about children, that kind of goes alongside with the psychological message, which is that you have to be healed in order to be a parent. So you should go and like work out all your stuff with a therapist, and then you should have a kid. And one of my friends recently said, she was like, I was a yoga teacher in my 20s, and so is she. And she was like, I wish that I would have just had kids in my 20s instead of spent my 20s in therapy talking about my parents. Because once I had kids, I was radically changed about how I saw my parents anyway. And I think it's really true, because instead of going in on them about all of the ways that they are and they aren't, which by the way, like we're next in line for that. Like if we're treating our parents like that, that's how our kids are going to treat us. And not, just sort of the Western way that it's okay to cut people off. And that's sort of the social media way too, is like good boundaries is like, well, you're in my space, so if you don't like it, you could just walk on by. And I don't really think that's how relationships work. That's how a small percentage of them work. But now everything that should be an exception has become the rule. And one of my great prides in the 4th trimester is I get a lot of mail from people, proverbial mail, and they say things like, I thought I couldn't live with my mom, but I read your book and I realized I needed to move back in when I gave birth. And it's the best thing I've ever done for my kid. And it's the best thing I've ever done for my family. And even as we're saying this right now, Keshia, there's someone out there going, but my mom's a narcissist. My mom's impossible. It's not possible for me. I need to cut her off. And that might be true. Like, I don't know everyone's reality. I just know that there is a lot more space, instead of creating boundaries and separation, to actually imagine how we can bring people together for the support that we say that we want. But we have to have an opening to receive the support.
Yeah.
Someone has to perceive that you'll accept the support. So we have to be good at learning how to ask. We have to practice. We have to practice getting rejected. We have to practice noticing, well, maybe I got rejected because of the way that I asked, and maybe I need to ask in a different way, or maybe I need to tell the person, instead of just saying, hey, could you take my kid from this time to this time? Maybe I need to say, I'd really like to go to a yoga class. I feel so much more relaxed after I go and so much more capable for the rest of the week. And it would really mean so much if you could stay with my kids for an hour and a half. It's a lot easier to say yes than that to that. Also, if it's a little ahead of time, I was really guilty of always asking really last minute because I felt ashamed and I didn't want to ask. And so I would wait till the last minute, and then I would inconvenience usually my parents even more because it was like, well, now they want to help me, but they're scrambling because I didn't just ask earlier. So I think there's so many opportunities for repair, and that's kind of like life is offering us all the time.
Yeah, I know.
And by the way, if you have 5 kids, no wonder you're 34 and tired.
37, but yes.
Okay, 37. But either way, that, 5 kids is a lot of kids. And I don't know if that's only 5 pregnancies, but, every successive child, the postpartum time, your ligaments are that much more lax. They've done that thing already. And those windows are still repair windows. Like, you can still put tons of nutrients and tons of rest in at that time, and it works retroactively. But parenting 5 kids is no joke. So that would be normal to be tired.
Yeah. Thank you. I needed that.
And also, like, seeing your age, because you said you were seeing your age. I don't really know what that means. Like, maybe you have some creases on your cheeks and maybe your lower abdomen is softer than it used to be. But, like, yeah, you have 5 children.
Yes.
Bow down too. By the way, I told my therapist when I was like 28, I wanted 5 kids, and I only got 1. But my daughter says that I have 4 others because she's like, number 1 is the 4th trimester. She's pretty low maintenance. Number 2, wow, she took a lot of work. So she says my books are my other babies, but it's still not the same.
No, I know. Like, I actually know quite a few women who are single mums with 1 child, and I get a lot of accolades from actually anyone who has less than 5 children.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, there's so much ease in it as well. Like, you don't understand how different the dynamic is because my 10-year-old helps with my 1-year-old, and I've got like my 2 boys who are in the middle who look after themselves. Like, they'll just go out and disappear and play in the dirt, and I'm left with a lot of laundry, but I don't have to worry about them. And there's a lot of cohesiveness that you don't get when you're one-on-one with another child.
Totally.
So
when you're one-on-one, also, lots of times in my parenting, I've tried to imagine, well, what would I do right now if I had 4 kids? Because there's structures you have to put in place that you don't put in place when you're just one sometimes. And so you suffer because you don't have the structure, because you don't have to have it, and then also, the one-on-one dynamic. I have a friend one-on-one who brings a stuffed animal to the dinner table because she just needs to, like, break up the conversation a little bit, the eye-to-eye intensity. And I think your kids they expect different things from you when they know they are not going to have your undivided attention.
Yes, absolutely. And there is, again, ease in that. I'm going to shift this conversation back to perimenopause and menopause, because what I've heard so far from this conversation is that we need women who are perimenopausal and menopausal. And you brought something to light earlier, that once you've gone through the phase of menopause, your hormones are a lot more even, and you can step back and you're not in like the grit of the emotion within a situation. And I just hearing that from you now, I don't know if I've actually ever heard anyone speak about it that way, but there was so much in my body that just relaxed. I'm like, oh, what? That sounds like a really awesome place to be eventually. But how much that would help your community as well, because I like, as a woman in her fertile years or going through adolescence, even my 10-year-old daughter now, I can feel the fluxes of rage and this energy that she wants to punch a wall too often, and she holds it in, but it comes out in like angry words to her brothers, or maybe even some physical anger or aggression towards her brothers. And I'm like, wow, I remember feeling some of that, maybe not as early as that, but definitely feeling some of that. And like those fluxes just don't really end until maybe about 2 years postpartum, but I haven't got there yet without being pregnant again. So I do see how like the massive benefit of having women who are actually going through a more even kilter of hormones later in life, but going through the transition from like say perimenopause to menopause and having young children in that mix, is there any advice you can give women who are in that situation navigating that?
Well, first of all, I think it's just knowing if you're in the perimenopausal window, then it's just more of a yin time. So you're more sensitive, your skin is more sensitive, you're more watery. You probably want to be more internal in more dark spaces. You probably are feeling like, a hibernation kind of a feeling. So just knowing that you're feeling that way, then you kind of have to put that into consideration, because if you're parenting 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, well, they want to be loud and noisy and outside and in the light. And if they're going to go with your energy, it's probably going to snowball into something that's harder to manage. So what kind of situations can you put yourself in where there's other children? What I see is a lot of perimenopausal women playing one-on-one with their children because there's not other kids around. I mean, I didn't want to play dolls when I was 32 either, but like I really don't think I would have, like kids should be playing with other kids. Not that adults can never play with them, but it's like dogs need other dogs to play with. Like set yourself up in situations where your kids can have the movement and the contact and the physicality that they need, if that's not something that you can offer at that time. And I think, we can't make up for the culture individually. So some people think I'm saying like, oh, you're bad because you had kids at 42 or something. No, I'm just saying for my own child in this case, but children collectively, that I'm telling her, like, take your biology into account as you move forward through your life. Like, don't think, oh, I'm going to freeze my eggs so I can have kids later, or I'll just let that go. It's like if you want a partner and you want children and you know that, then plan on doing it earlier, because it just does get harder. Our hormones are suited for more risk taking in our 20s, for more tolerance of being awake late at night. We just have so much more resilience in our system then. And I mean, perimenopausally, your sleep might get affected. And then it's very hard to function when you're really feeling like you don't have enough sleep. So you probably are going to need more support if you have kids later in life. And I just think it's really important to not ignore the season of life and to imagine that everything is a plug and play and it all doesn't matter. You can do anything anytime, and there's no repercussions, and there's no ways that things might be harder going down the line. We tend to be kind of selfish that way when it comes to fertility. We tend to want what we want and not really be able to let it go. People think they have a right to have a child, and they're right. They should be able to do it anyway. And that has impacts both on parents and children.
It's a bit... I want to say something. It's going to stroke a few people the wrong way. But the way that society has kind of raised us, my generation at least, has been really disrespectful to biology and disrespectful to like what actually our seasons are, which is strange because I feel like for a very long time we've always known that like your fertile window is here. Like the time to have children is like between 18, not saying that everyone should start having children at 18, but like it is between 18 and 25, 26. Like my grandma finished having, actually, no, she was 39, but she started having children a lot earlier in life. And
yeah, it's common sense.
Yeah, but we've kind of pushed that to the side to then like create the illusion that no, you do it when you're ready and you think that the time's right and your finances are in order and your traumas have been healed. And
you're financially stable and you have a relationship where you've been with that person for multiple years and all those things. And those things are great. I mean, I did that. I did it all out of order and I suffered for that. But I don't know if I suffered more than someone who quote unquote did it the right way. But I feel for people. I mean, there are just times in your life where you're like, okay, like I'm ready for this. And so I am taking a risk and I don't know if this thing is going to work out, but let's see. And then, everybody has those consequences, but the idea that technology is more reliable than humans is just something we're really up against. And it's been a thread throughout this whole conversation of, now, I mean, why wouldn't it just be logical to someone to listen and say, I'm 33 years old. Of course I'm not perimenopausal. Like, why are we so impressionable? Why are we, and then we're hyper focused on every little thing that happened. Well, I think my hair is thinner. But like, is your hair thinner because you have a thyroid condition or you are still postpartum or you had a crisis in your life? I mean, there's so many other things that happen that then to just put it onto the female body again of like, it must be something wrong and we've got to fight as hard as we can not to age or change. It's really upsetting. It's like very disturbing. Because there's so much power. I learned this word. We don't say the word cunt very much in the United States.
Oh, it's our favorite over
Australia?
Here. Yeah.
Oh, like, you say it a lot?
Oh, yeah. Like, and in a positive way. Like you would.
Positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like someone. I'm gonna say I know my audience doesn't like me swearing, so swearing warning. Yeah, because they like to listen in the car with the kids. But maybe put it down for a second. But like we'll say, oh, sick cunt, like in like a. It's like you're like a really cool person. It's
okay.
Bizarre. And like
right.
there's a lot, there was a list that was circulating on social media. It was phenomenal. That was just like all the different ways you can use cunt and how it like refers to some awesome state of being to that person. But yeah.
All right. So here in the US, well, at least Californians, we don't really say the word. And it's funny, though, that you said your audience didn't want you to swear because to you, it's still a swear word, though.
Yes, it is.
So it's a quote unquote bad word it's explicit language.
It's more a bogan-y term of phrase that you would use more casually, but around children.
What's bogan?
Bogan? Like
like bro or something?
Yeah, bogan. A bogan. Oh my gosh, how do I describe a bogan? Is someone who's probably just like a little looser one with language to more laid back in their general state of being and also maybe lesser economically.
Okay. Like a more common person.
Like a bum. Yeah.
Joe Schmo or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
outer suburbs.
I am writing a book right now and I just learned the word contipotent, which is an actual word like omnipotent, but contipotent. The all-powerful pussy. So it's an incredible word. I'm hoping to bring it back. Everyone listening, try to use it as much as you can. Now that we've gone down that road, I can't remember why I thought of that. But I guess it's because there's tremendous power in women and women's pelvises and women's sexuality. And so there's a lot of reasons to try to control it. And then we internalize it and we get on this bandwagon of trying to control everything.
I feel like maybe that will be in the title. Contipotent.
Okay.
Yeah, contipotent. Is that the word? I have to research this. All right. I'm very excited. This is, maybe I'll just drop it regularly.
It's next level.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound as like vulgar as just.
But like cunt, okay, so if cunt is vulgar, the etymology of cunt comes from country.
Ooh.
Kin, which we were talking about. Same cuneiform, which is like ancient hieroglyphic writing. Kundalini or Kunta, the goddess Kunta in India. So it's like, why has that come to mean something that's a bad word? It's an origin. It's a creation point. It's a portal. It's all powerful.
Oh, we need to start changing cunt.
Oh, we are.
We
We're
need,
doing it right now, Keshia.
yeah, we've started a movement. I'm really excited about this.
Well, this is, to be fair, this is a continuation of a movement I've already started, but
Okay.
but yes,
Thank
you're
you.
starting it in Australia, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm starting it with my audience.
Contipitant Australian.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Before we wrap up, Kimberly, I would love to shoot some rapid fire questions at you. I actually think we covered some of them, but there's a couple we didn't. So this is probably more based on what you've shared on social media. You used the sentence, I used to like kids more than I do today. Can we go into that? Because I feel like everyone I knew shared that. And I would love to expand on that post.
Yeah. So that's a true statement. Sometimes things I say on social media are like hooks and they're mostly true, but maybe there's a little exception to it. But it is true. I still love kids. I was a fourth grade teacher. I am the oldest and I'm the Pied Piper. I worked at a refugee camp once and I would always have like 15 or 20 kids trailing behind me. But most of the children around me are, they run their households and they run their parents. And even when I'm there as a guest, everything is revolving around what the child wants. And it feels like I've even made jokes before of like someone served their child. Like I've been on a trip and arrived at their house and then and I've been on like a long trip and then their kid has come home from like a 1 hour thing and they put like a charcuterie board in front of their kid. And I was like, oh, so the young prince needs to eat. It's just like, in what world do you serve a 7-year-old before you serve a 50-year-old? Like, wait, like, how does that even enter your head that like the kid, like it's the kid, and it's not good for the kids. So they don't have a good sense of limits. And then that also influences what we're talking about with village making of it's hard for anyone, there's no set agreed upon rules or standards of how kids should behave. And people don't want you to say anything to their kids. It's like, oh no, this is how we do it. This is our way. Whereas, if everybody could agree that it's better for kids to sit down when they eat, for instance, it might be easier for many people to care for them. But if it's fine if they walk around with food in one house, like I don't want kids walking around my house with food in their hands. I just don't. I don't want to clean up in every room of my house when I have people over. I'm fine with it being in the kitchen and like, sure, it's going to be messier than it normally would be, but I don't want to, have to take my carpet to the dry cleaners after somebody comes over to my house. So there's just this idea that can be very lackadaisical, which is more that's the world we live in. People are overcorrecting for some kind of imagined authoritarian time that wasn't even the time of our parents, where like kids had to be prim and proper and sit still and say all the right things. And now it's a free-for-all. Like everybody's kid is the next Buddha that's got the most incredible insights into life that they've ever heard of. And they want you to be interested in that same way. And that makes bratty kids.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I feel like I was definitely on the path of creating that myself. I was the woman who was telling my mother, we don't say no to the child. Like my firstborn, we don't say no to her. And it was lucky that I continued procreating with intention, sometimes without intention, but you drop a lot of that because you need more help and you need more people to come in. And actually, walking around the house with food is not okay because I can't be your personal cleaner, children. We have to do it at like food stays at the dinner table. And these are things that I learned, but through my circumstance. But when I heard you share that, I was like, oh my God, thank God that my circumstances just forced me into this general way of parenting, because there are so many people who do only have 1 or 2 children, and you can very easily just be their slaves and ensure that everything revolves around them. And I think I'd love to make a distinction here, because I've spoken to, I don't know if you know of Katie Faust. She's got the organization Them Before Us, which is children's rights before adults' desires. And I feel like a distinction does need to be made, that doesn't mean that the world revolves around children. It means that the hard adult stuff stays on the adults, and we protect children from the hard adult stuff. And I feel like sometimes it can get conflated, where we feel like we need to now placate to children because it's children's, like, what a child is, what their right is actually to food whenever they want it, or to everyone having different cooked meals, or to now I'm pulling them out of school because they don't feel like going to school anymore. And which isn't quite the same.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what we're talking about also is what we've been talking about earlier, is like, how are you, if you had to take care of elders at the same time as the children, how would your household have to be different, right? Like, elders can't tolerate lots of loud noise. You'd have to have the meals at the same time, because then you can't make that many different meals. And I think it's about, again, we're back to limits. We think that somehow providing a limit or insisting on doing something uncomfortable is overstepping. I mean, how many, my friend was like, oh my God, it's so nice that your daughter went on a hike with you the other day. And I was like, oh, you mean I forced her to go on a hike? Because that's what I did. I forced her. Then after we did it, she was like, that was fun. I'm glad you forced me. But if I would have just gone with the flow and like, oh, well, she says she doesn't want to. She says she wants to sleep in. It's like, I'm not really looking at the bigger picture of what is an outcome that I want for her in the world, not what's comfortable for her right now.
Short term.
And adults are very, one thing that I think adults should keep among us more is all of our doubts about society. I've talked a lot about this with school. Like, my daughter in 3rd grade, what everybody was talking to her about unschooling and homeschooling. And so she had this whole idea that I should be unschooling her or homeschooling her. And I was so mad at the other adults that were like waxing poetic about how detrimental school was. And it's like, well, newsflash, she's got to go to school. We live in a great area. It's a great school. I was a public school teacher. I'm also a single mom. I can't homeschool her. I got to make a living. And now you're putting all of these, now she's just like filled with doubts about the thing that is her life. That's not a child conversation. That's a good example of something my mom never had to deal with us. I never thought, do I have to go to school or not? It's not a choice. You go to school. Period. Like, you might think about what school you want to go to, but it was just like, no, you go to school. And then there's no existential crisis. There's no like ongoing psychological need. It's just like, that's what you do. You go to school, and then you do an activity after school, and then you come home, and this is how it goes. And you're not thinking about, solving the next level of existential crisis that all the adults around you are talking about.
Yeah. And I do feel like that with this time being all about healing and making sure that we don't put our traumas, the things that we experience that we're like, oh, that wasn't good for us, we don't want to put that on our children. And now it's just like this blanket, like, oh, if they feel that way, well, we want them to be emotionally intelligent. So they're feeling that way. So we've got to validate that and keep changing their external environment.
Emotional validation is so overrated. Like, it's so overrated. It's just treating a child's inner world like an adult's inner world is just a misstep. And we're all overly focused on our inner worlds anyway. But emotional attunement is great. And obviously children need that from us. But an over concern about the ways that life goes, it's exhausting. Really exhausting. And again, it's not really passing the message to them that this is a safe world, that this is a world that they can belong to, that this is a world worth being alive in, that they're strong and they can do it. And it's really doing a disservice to them if every time they express dissatisfaction, and they know our weak spots. So if we're already doubting, oh, is it good to send them to school? And then they're like, this teacher said this. They know exactly what to say to create the case. We have such a difficulty with authority. And it's a difference between being authoritative and authoritarian. But a lot of these kids are authoritarian, and that's what my whole second book is about, Call of the Wild, is like moms jaguaring up. Like, you're the jaguar, your kids are the cubs. Jaguar up so they know who's in charge. And so that you're not run ragged and you're not exhausted thinking you need progesterone, because actually what's happening is your kids are running your life.
Oh, I have a couple of other rapid fire. Can I go into them?
Sure.
Ice bath for women.
I love bathing. I think it depends on where you live. I mean, there's lots of places like Sweden where people have been doing that since the beginning of time. I think I brought on menopause earlier for myself because I started really doing extreme ice in my early 40s. And I think I just didn't have enough yin reserves for it. And so now if I were to do it again, then I would just go in not as cold water, but the cold was making my hot flashes a lot more severe. So the cold was spiking me into the heat in a different direction. It really depends a lot on your connective tissue type, depends on where you are in your erotic reproductive seasons. But I had a lot of fun doing it. I went all the way to Iceland and went in the ocean in the middle of February.
Oh, how was that? Was that with Wim?
It was freaking amazing. No, it was with Casper van der Meulen, who was one of Wim's students. But I mean, it was epic. It was so fun. It was like hot springs right next to the edge of the ocean, and it was beautiful. And I trained for it, and I loved it. And I loved doing it with other people, and I loved the breath work that we were doing also. So I mean, I got a lot of joy out of it and a lot of repair, because a lot of my life has been in the vulva universe, and the breath work and ice crew was a more mixed crowd. So it was very reparative for me to be around a lot of men in that kind of physical way. And I think it was a little too much.
I'm glad that you said that. I feel like that was a very honest, but now I don't know if I should or not.
There's no shoulds. You have to feel into yourself and like, what are you doing it for? I mean, there was a time I was doing it for mental strength. Like it gave me kind of a caffeinated effect. Then there was a time where I was building up time because I was really good at it. And that's partially because I have elastinous connective tissue. And so I could get in below 32 degrees and stay in for like 10, 15 minutes sometimes, which is just insane. And so I was getting a lot of ego strokes out of it because I was better at it than everybody. And I mean, that's how I am. Like if I set my mind to something, I'm just going to do it. So I had to learn the opposite way. And I had to learn, oh, I'm overriding my body's signal, which is what most people need to do. They need to override it. But I'm going into a freeze state because this is familiar and I'm able to do it. So I actually have to act out the fight response. So I would make myself like jump out of the tub, do some squats, and I would do shorter intervals to train my system. Because it's not just about enduring the cold. It's about your system being able to heat back up and how long it takes your system to heat up. So I had to adapt it. So it was really good nervous system training. And there's so many reasons why things are beneficial or not. And also I was doing it every single day. I mean, there's also a version where you do it once a week or, then I moved to New York and I was doing it once a week, but we were doing 3-minute intervals with a hot sauna. I got a kick out of it because I was really good at it. And I liked the feeling of being in the ice. So it's not like it's not torture for me. I'd like actually enjoy it. But, now I just haven't gotten back into it because I gave my tub away a few years ago when I was like mid the menopausal situation, and The research shows from Stacy Sims and Gabriella Reese, like it shows that you, as women, we could just do 50 degrees. I don't know what it is in Celsius, but you don't have to go down into the 35 range. You can get the physiological benefit of going in, just at 50 or 55.
No, that's good. No, I used to really like it and like the idea. I think that's when I was first introduced to Wim Hof's work. But then after my fourth and fifth babies, I had such an aversion to cold, and I'm like, oh, should I be my traditional Chinese medicine practitioner is like, you do not have the energy for that. Yeah. He's like, you absolutely never go into the cold ever. I was like, okay. But then at the same time, I'm like, should I be training my brain by doing it and like doing something that's hard and therefore getting that hormesis response? And so it's good to get the full picture. I'm still very cold averse.
What's good about this is, well, number one, everyone's cold averse, so that's just that.
Okay.
But nobody goes, I love cold water. I just said I like it. I do like it. I learned to like it. I like the effect of it. But everybody has a thing when you say, let's go in cold water, that they're like, oh, I don't know. And it is super effective for some things. Like you could cure rheumatoid arthritis. You can deal with certain kinds of inflammation. But this just goes to a much bigger topic, which you're giving me flash questions, so we can talk about it a different time. But it just goes to the standard of almost all biohacking advice is based on the male body. Almost all spiritual practices are based on the male body as standard. Almost all medical school is taught based on a male body, with the female body as the exception. So there's actually not that much out there that's really been studied on a female system and a female system throughout the seasons. But I really do trust Stacy Sims and her exercise physiology research and what she's putting out on ice. And I would say that corroborates my experience. And I also don't know. I've lived I lived a beautiful life. I love my life, and it's been stressful. I run a big business. I've written a lot of books. I've seen a lot of clients, and I have a child, and I was married. I am married, but my husband was living in another country, and we didn't have a visa. And I've run pretty fast and hot, and I didn't really know how to do it differently. So part of my early menopause was really feeling guilty and feeling like, oh, I did this wrong. If I would have done this differently, then I wouldn't be in menopause. This is too early. But I don't really know that. I just it's just my suspicion. And it's also not necessarily bad. There's nothing wrong with being in menopause earlier. It just seems like it might not have been how my system would have been had I maybe been a little easier on my adrenals along the years.
We covered mother age, but thoughts on Botox and fillers?
Well, I don't use them. I live in San Diego, California, where everybody has them, and they do it starting in their 20s to prevent wrinkles. We were talking about rage earlier. Most anger expressions happen in the forehead and the upper lip muscles. So to me, it's really interesting that that's usually where people are getting anesthetized, which is basically what those things are, is ways of anesthetizing and minimizing their expression. The reason I have so many wrinkles between my eyebrows, I think, is number one, because I was actually born with a furrowed brow, but I also have squinted a lot because I wore glasses for a long time, and then I'm really sensitive to the sun, so I squint, and then I worry, so then I squint. So mine are more worrying than anger, but it's not really, society doesn't like angry women. So, when women try to get elected for public office, that's what they're counseled out of showing any disdain or anger, because that makes you unlikable to the public. So it's interesting, like, that mom rage is such a topic, but then at the same time, people are trying to minimize the facial expressions that would actually let you show how you feel. Also, again, we're not robotic pieces and parts machines. So if you anesthetize one thing, it affects your system. And people will argue with me to their death on that. But I mean, I have a good friend. I'm very biased against these things because of how I've grown up. I've grown up with very few people around me that have faces that are not changed. And our animal bodies can perceive when we've changed the organic symmetry of something. And so to me, I feel very distrustful and also just constantly irritated by looking at faces that just are, to me, just look messed up. Like, it's just like, why are you messed up? And it doesn't go together. Like, okay, you've got wrinkles around your eyes and you've got wrinkles here, but your forehead looks like it's stretched and shiny. Like, why? It's hard for me to concentrate on anything else. I've also worked at Pilates. I used to be a Pilates teacher, and like, somebody would get an eye job and then they would come back in, and somebody that I thought was really beautiful would come back, and all of a sudden their eyes are like, I can see the whites of their eyes above or below. They look startled, and you're supposed to pretend like you don't notice. Like, that's the part I don't understand, is like, how it's just so weird to go around pretending that we don't notice that someone looks completely different than they looked the last time we saw them. And to me, that's a part of disarming our natural animal wisdom. And so we're wondering, oh, why can't I speak up for myself? Or why am I having sex I'm not really that excited about? And it's like, well, if you're constantly disarming, not just with Botox and fillers, but just socially, if you're disarming your natural instinct towards feeling uncomfortable or unsafe or noticing because you're not supposed to be judgmental, then it just crosses over. So, there's the studies everybody quotes about babies not being able to imprint if their moms have Botox. I think there's a lot of other problems besides that, but I know people who developed autoimmune disorders because of Botox, because it's a toxin that's being injected. So some people, that's going to be a threshold moment of the thing that pushes them over the edge. But sometimes I feel it's a futile conversation, kind of like the progesterone. I mean, I don't know if anyone listening who's already decided they need progesterone, they're probably not even listening anymore by this point, because they're just like, forget this person.
You'd be surprised. My audience likes to torture themselves a little bit. We go into some rough stuff, so you'd be surprised.
Okay, well, I don't. I just feel I have a responsibility to my aging face, both for myself, for my ancestors, and for my child. I want to be recognizable to her. I want her to know, oh, this might be what I look like when I get, oh, this is what 51 looks like. Okay, this might be what I look like when I get older. I don't want her to, like, I went to Ireland so that I could try to figure out, like, what does somebody like me look like when they get older if they haven't surgically altered themselves?
Did you discover?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. I actually, like, one of my biggest things, and I know that there are studies even on being able to mimic someone's expression so that you can feel empathy. I can't remember the study, but there was a study on that, and how by using Botox and fillers you aren't able to mimic, and therefore your levels of empathy go down. But for me, I've spoken about sex on the podcast a lot and how important my sex life is to me. And I feel like in like being able to respond to my husband in that environment I would hate for something to take my ability to reach certain heights of pleasure away because I can't actually mimic where he is at either. And I just feel like there's so many areas in our lives where we're in like I mean, that's an extreme partnership, but in other partnerships and relationships that we can that we need to be able to mimic someone's expression to be able to feel the same waves of emotion. And by removing that, we're kind of removing a chunk of the human experience. So yeah, I don't know if you're in agreement with that, but personal
Yeah,
choice.
I mean, I have had people tell me that it's improved their relationship getting Botox because, like the expression I was saying about like when I'm looking like I'm furrowing my brow and I'm listening, that their partner thought they were mad all the time, so it was better once they got Botox. But um, I just care about such bigger things, and it's normal. The female system is really oriented towards comparison, and that's just part of the female social nervous system. And some people are disproportionately impacted by it. But I don't see that it brings people a lot more joy. I know people say that it does. I know people say, oh, I just wanted a nose job, and it just, it's not about my self esteem. It just was fun and it made me happier. And I just can't see how cracking your own facial bones, how you can argue that that's actually something that is beneficial to you, or shaving bone off your face. But I'm also a body worker, right? Like I'm a trained sexological body worker. I'm a structural integration practitioner. I've been a body worker for 25 years. So, and I've been practicing yoga since 1993. So it's like I just really see the big picture of what we might think is one thing that actually has a whole cascade effect in many different ways.
Well, I can honestly say that this conversation did not disappoint. Definitely hit the
Oh, good.
markers.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
All
definitely
right. Okay.
100%. Very impressed.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed
So
myself.
are you giving me a valedictorian?
Oh my God, what's the word? Cunt-, Cuntification.
Pontificant.
Cuntifitant applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, for coming on. I know my audience would have enjoyed this and will probably ask for an encore, and I hope that you are open to that, because honestly, so much of what you say is relaxing, and I definitely look up to you as a role model and as someone who I hope I have this wisdom as I go into my parenting a teen and starting to become empty nested and all of these things. So thank you so much for everything you do. And if people want to follow your work, they want to find you, where can they?
They can go to my website at kimberlyannjohnson.com, or they can go to my Instagram, which is also kimberlyannjohnson.com, but just with periods between the words and then no E on Ann. My books are on Amazon. I'm teaching classes a lot. I teach a training once a year in Wales in June called Mothering the Bones, and then I teach in Oxford every year, a 2-day workshop on the Jaguar work. And some people have been inviting me to Tasmania and Australia. So who knows? Maybe I'll make my way over your way.
Please, that would be so amazing.
Where do you live?
I'm in Byron, so I
Okay.
live around the corner from Tani.
Oh, okay.
We can do a
Okay.
group hang.
Okay, gotcha.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you.
I will tag all of that in our show notes. And thank you everyone for joining. Thanks for joining me today. If this ignited a flame for you, please share, follow the show, and leave a review. The more support and subscriptions the show gets, the more powerful and credentialed guests I can bring on to deepen these conversations. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week.